Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let's just close the loop on, we were talking about jobs when my time ran out before, and talking about the problems people have beginning their earning years, midlife crisis, and then pre-retirement. And it seems like some of the things we've done recently, the past 14 or 15 months, healthcare bill being a big one. And I heard from several people back home, a couple who had an assortment of small businesses and provided roughly 320, 350 entry-level jobs, minimum wage jobs, if you will, that for which they do not provide a health benefit. And generally, they are looking at the second wage earner in a home being the holder of this job, or someone just entering the job market who might in fact now be carried on their parents' insurance, but they're looking at the $2,000 fine that they will now have for each full-time equivalent. And at their level of employment, they just simply can't continue. They're either going to have to stop what they're doing, sell their businesses and retire and go to Reno, or something different, but they cannot continue to do, as they outlined to me, they will not be able to continue to do what they're doing. And here's, again, a couple through various entrepreneurial activities providing 300 to 350 entry-level jobs for these people at the beginning of the job market. And you know that that scenario is replicated across the broader economy over and over and over again. We've also frightened people with what we're doing with cap and trade and possible energy tax. We've also frightened people with financial regulatory reform, where people just don't know what to expect around the next corner. And then the 50 pages of tax cuts that are going to expire that also add to the uncertainty. So where do we begin to ratchet back the uncertainty that we're providing to the small business person that prevents them from adding a job right now, or worse yet, may make them look at, hey, I may have to have my workforce by 2014 because I can't do what you've asked me to do?
No, we have heard around the country that uncertainty, both economic uncertainty, where's the recovery going, and policy uncertainty, uncertainty about what the regulatory environment is going to look like, has had some adverse effects on businesses because they don't know how to plan. They don't know exactly what the environment is going to look like. And so while it's very important, of course, that on these very important issues of healthcare and environment and regulatory reform and so on, that Congress do a deliberate process and come up with the best possible outcomes, obviously earlier resolution and clarity is better than delay. So that's certainly an issue to try to reduce that overhang of uncertainty.
Well, there were many more people asking us to look at the problems with jobs and joblessness than there were asking us to deal with the problem with global warming and healthcare inequities. I mean, the numbers are stark. My time's going to run out again. You were talking to Senator Klobuchar about the commission, the deficit commission, or as I like to call them, the debt panels that have been created. And of course, Congress, the House in particular, we do control the purse strings. And you talked when you were in Dallas, in fact, your comments were, nothing prevents us from beginning now to develop a credible plan for meeting our long-run fiscal challenges. I agree with you. I just think that ought to come from the legislative body and not from an executive order on a debt commission. So are you familiar with Ranking Member Paul Ryan on the Budget Committee has what he describes as a roadmap for America's future, where it's a big lift, but he tackles tax code, Medicare, Social Security as sort of a single entity, and tries to deal with our long-term fiscal future from that standpoint. Wouldn't that be a better way of going about looking at this rather than the targeted reductions that a commission is going to come back with?
Well, and just in general, I think, the entitlements, Social Security and especially Medicare, are the biggest parts of are quantitatively a very big part of the fiscal issue going forward. And I think creative thinking in general about how to make that control those costs is extremely important. And go back to your question about healthcare costs for the small business. It's not just a fiscal issue, but anything we can do to reduce the costs of healthcare and make it more effective and efficient is going to help not only the federal budget, but it's going to help the functioning of the economy. So I can only agree and encourage any kind of creative thinking about bringing forth proposals. If they come from Congress, as you say, all the better. The trouble is that obviously, by its nature, Congress is often very focused on the near term, and it's hard to get the attention on the very long-term issues.
Yeah, unfortunately, this bill that we passed in healthcare, 4,000 pages that did nothing to reduce the long-term cost of healthcare other than provide for rationing in the very near future. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I'll yield back my time.